too. You got his other side.
Tell you what,
You wanna just
I'll
stay?
just sit, yeah.
Carl, you want to lead us to the flag salute, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City and the Atlantic County Record on January the 15th, 2020. Mr. Kane?
Here.
Mr. Gishard?
Present.
Mr. Kurtz?
Here.
Mr. Patali?
Here.
Mayor Shanker?
Here. Can we get a moment of silence for private reflection? Thank you. We'll start out this evening. We have a guest presentation from Lori Carlin from the Census 101 Road to 2020 presentation.
I have some handouts that I'll just leave up here in case some of the general public wants them, and I can give them to you
That's
as
fine.
well. Thank you for the opportunity to come. I am your partnership specialist for the 2020 census. I live in Marmora, and I have Atlantic and Cape May County as my territories to educate and promote the importance that it's important for everyone to be counted once and only once and in the right place, and April 1st is only 57 days away, and it's no joke. It's April Fool's Day, but it is Census Day. You know what, so where's the clicker? Somebody stand up there, or do I do it?
You can take the microphone off the stand if you'd like.
Can I? Walk around?
Well,
Good? Keep it casual? Okay, just you tell me. Okay. No, I got it. So this is a brief PowerPoint just about the overview of the census. It started in 1790. Constitution, and I'm having technical difficulties. I apologize. Can I just hit the arrow button?
I think you need to hit that mouse.
Person? You're just you're using the middle part. Got it. Thank you, sir. So the census has been around since 1790. It's part of the Constitution. It's our civic duty to complete the census once every 10 years. It's a population count only, and it's used to determine a plethora of things. Depending on what's important to you, the top part is the power of representation. Over the past 2 to 3 censuses, the past 20, 30 years, New Jersey has lost seats in the U.S. House of Representatives because we've been undercounted. Now, does that mean people are high-talented out of here, or people just aren't taking it seriously that they need to fill out the census? So we've gone from 15 U.S. House of Representatives to 12. What that means is then we get redistricted, which means Cape May County, Atlantic County keeps getting bigger and bigger with less representation. Schools close, federal funding stops. There's $675 billion. We get one shot at it once every 10 years. New Jersey in 2010 received $22 billion of that money. It then gets disseminated per county into the municipalities, all based on who's living in the Township of Hamilton. It's as simple as that. And again, it's just a population count only, and I will have a sample questionnaire here that I can show you. Title 13 and Title 26 of the Constitution is the Privacy Act. These census responses since 1790, to our knowledge, have never been broken, the confidentiality, the Privacy Act. Immigration can't break it, the Patriot Act can't break it, the dad who hasn't paid child support, the police can't come lock him up because he didn't fill it out or he did fill it out. It cannot be broken. This is the first time ever the census can be done online. And that's a huge point that I'm going to say a few times briefly, because it's very important that we get people that aren't local. Those snowbirds that aren't here. So what does the census data mean to you? What does it mean to the Township of Hamilton? What's hot on the items just even tonight? Is there a new playground that someone's trying to get? Is there ball fields that, if there's not enough kids to use them, then they're not kept up by, the township? Is it for another business to come? I happen to live in Marmora. If we get one more Dollar General, I'll light my hair on fire, okay? So we're not worthy of a Trader Joe's because they believe no one lives anywhere near there. But the schools, schools close if they believe there's not children there. How many police officers on staff? How many are needed? It's all tied to the population count. Now, the census is not political, but I'll tell you how it becomes political. When there's a presidential election, you have your popular vote, you have your electoral college. Which one wins the election? The electoral college. What's the electoral college? The amount of representation is in that state. What determines the amount of representation in a state? How many people live there? So the reason I feel so privileged to be in front of you tonight is it's simple education, but it gets complicated because we believe that Big Brother knows too much already. And why can't they just take my records from the IRS? That's not how this works. This is strictly the population count. Name, address, birthday, your race. Are you male or female? What's your phone number? And then who else lives in your house? It's that simple. By mid-March, you should get a postcard in the mail that will encourage you to go online to complete your census. And this is for if you've been living where you're living for quite some time. There's staff that's going to go out to group quarters, to nursing homes where people don't leave, and they'll be having their applications filled out there. 2 weeks ago, they started the census in remote Alaska, and there was, I saw pictures of guys on snowmobiles going to somebody's house. So the internet, it's key that we encourage people, that we get volunteers to show up to the library and help Regina Bell, who's in charge of all your Atlantic County libraries, to help people fill it out online. Mid-March through the end of April is what we're pushing for. If you can't do it online, then call. You can get a paper form. It comes in 12 non-English languages. By phone, there's 59 languages. There's no reason for someone not to be able to complete the census. The U.S. Postal Service, I've had calls with them. They're sending 1, 2, 3, 4 different reminders out to people. There's no reason why, if you have a place that you call home, that you would not be notified to fill it out. Talked about the letter invitation. You can get a paper questionnaire, all different kinds of languages. And then someone like myself, there's another person that has this job in Atlantic Cape May County where you can invite us to come do a brief presentation for you. I can do handouts. I send e-blasts out with attachments. Hannah has them. Where it's just getting that educational word out that we care about our area and getting counted. Some of the hardest places to reach are those where they don't speak English, where kids are under 5, are normally undercounted. So the school system is huge. There's a whole program for schools. I've had the privilege to talk in front of your superintendents' roundtables, and I'm going to speak again in a couple weeks. That's the plethora of languages. And, if our kids come home, by the trusted voice of our teachers, hey, Mom and Dad, fill out the census. This is why it's important to me. Your 5-year-old now will be 15 in 10 years. Just think where we were in 2010. Where are we going to be in 2030? And I just said that to a group of Stockton students. They get all glazed over, because they can't even imagine that. I'm like, some of you might be married with kids. There are jobs available. You might have heard about it. It's $20 an hour. It's kind of a no-brainer for someone 18 years old or up to apply for a flexible part-time job at $20 an hour. You would work in the area where you live. 5-mile radius. What's the job? Well, people that don't go online or fill out the questionnaire by the end of April, you're going to be knocking on their door. The key is, let's tell everybody, we don't want anybody knocking on our door because we don't like when people knock on our door. Just fill out the census. But that's that job. And you wouldn't be sent anywhere else but the neighborhood where you live. The timeline by the end of the year is when the president gets the numbers. No matter who the president is, whatever the numbers are, the president gets them. And by March 2021, that $675 billion's all disseminated. Jersey gets their portion. You're done for 10 years. You get one shot. So, again, it's a privilege to be speaking in front of you. You're the trusted voices in your community. You know your community better than anyone else. So what can you do? You can maybe invite Lori to one of your PTA or school board meetings. You could pass along information that Hannah has. Simple e-blast out. Hamilton Township can have the 2020 legend on their Facebook page. It can say /jobs because there are still jobs available. There's a plethora of marketing materials, anything you could imagine out there. The wheel's already been invented, and there's no reason to have to put more work on somebody. Use this in a nice way at the census. I was hired just for a 13-month contract. I still have one child at home, and I feel privileged to be able to help our communities to share this with you. So that's my contact information and my counterparts. And if there's any questions,
Why do they need my phone number?
just in case they want to call you.
Yeah.
And that's what it says on there. It says just in case we need to reach out to you. So it's head of household, like mine will say, Michael Carlin, 3 Greendale Drive, Marmora, New Jersey. He was born 4/6/62. He's a male, and he's white. And then it goes, who lives with you? Lori Carlin lives with me. What's her birth date, race, and then I still have a 16-year-old at home. It does say at the end, do you rent or own? And can we have a phone number just in case we want to follow up? So to get out to the seniors in particular, it's not asking your social security number, it's not asking for bank information, it's not asking credit card information or an email, because there's tons of scams already happening out there. And I know where to reach. Like if you hear about rumors, and the police force has already been sent information when there's enumerators out canvassing your area, that they're notified well in advance, at least they're supposed to be, that there's ways we can at least get those rumors squashed. And the citizenship question is not on the census. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it is not on. Yes, sir.
How many local people have you hired?
They are hiring 7,000 people. Atlantic County has had a really good response in applying for the jobs. We can't give jobs away in Cape May County for some reason, but Atlantic County, people are eager to work. They're still hiring. They're still calling people. Again, they're calling, and they're calling you once. You're not going to recognize the number. You got to pick up the phone because they're going to move on to Charles, and then they'll move on to John. That's just as how it is. But they're going to start training soon. You get paid for training. You get paid once a week. You could be hired for 5 weeks, 15 weeks. Yeah.
What kind of people are you looking for?
They're looking for able-bodied people, 18 years old or older. It's that simple. And that application is under, I have forms up here too. It's under 2020census.gov/jobs. And that bottom one. Name, address. They do ask the social security number because you will have a federal background check and be fingerprinted. It's a government job. They're going to do that. So, anything else?
Does anybody in the audience have any questions? Yes, young lady.
I don't have a question. Jenny Earls from Atlantic Cape. It's my understanding, because I scheduled them, that there's a job fair at Atlantic Cape on February 14th from 12 to 3 if anybody's interested.
Awesome.
And I don't know if you're participating in that or not.
We have a bunch of recruiting assistants out there that just do that, and that's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming in. Mike, you gonna move that out of the way? All right, so let's move on. Additions, deletions, and the late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. We have one, it's a proclamation for Good Samaritans. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second?
A motion is second to accept late list. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Deputy Mayor, if you'd like to come down here with me. Chief? Sorry. Okay, you're probably wondering why we brought you all together here tonight. We had a pretty big event happen here, not a great event, but nonetheless, sometimes things happen in our township that aren't necessarily a good thing, and then you have people who stand up and show that there are good people in this world. So I'd like Ryan Mazie, is that how you say that, Ryan? Really? Man, I'm good. Jacob Sawwald, Dawson Lerner, and Sally Solomon. So those of you who aren't friends and family, so those of you who don't know these people, there was an accident, a pretty severe accident out on the Black Horse Pike by St. Wayman with the 4 traffic lights on. And a dump truck hit a vehicle, turned over, and subsequently the car was being covered or filled with dirt. So I think the best way I can do this is just read you the proclamations. You got it? Okay. So whereas Ryan Mazie, Jacob Sawwald, Dawson Lerner, Sally Solomon demonstrated great bravery and quick thinking during a rescue of an injured motorist who was trapped in his car following a serious motor vehicle accident on the Black Horse Pike on December 26, 2019. And whereas as a result of the collision, a large dump truck filled with gravel overturned on top of the small sedan, and the occupant of the sedan was trapped inside. While the gravel from inside the overturned dump truck was spilling out on the top of the vehicle and quickly burying it. And whereas prior to the police and rescue personnel arriving on the scene, several good Samaritans, these people standing behind me, who witnessed the accident, stopped to aid the trapped driver of the sedan. Mr. Mazie took the measures to extinguish the fire under the dump truck. Mr. Sawwald and Mr. Lerner began digging the gravel off of the vehicle to free the driver. And Ms. Solomon attended to the injured driver's condition. All 4 of these good Samaritans continued to render aid until emergency personnel arrived and remained on the scene after and continued to help rescue efforts. Now, therefore, we, the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton, the County of Atlantic, and the State of New Jersey, on this day, February 3rd, 2020, do hereby recognize with respect and gratitude Ryan Mazie, Jacob Sawwald, Dawson Lerner, and Sally Solomon for their bravery and courage. We are truly grateful to them for their assistance, and there is no doubt that without their quick actions, the driver of the vehicle may not have survived. Their heroic efforts are an inspiration and serve as a model of bravery to all the citizens of Hamilton Township. We have these proclamations here, these plaques. This is just a small token. It really doesn't say anything about what you guys did, and we're so proud to have you in this town. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I can't tell you how much this means. Anyone need a picture?
Jay.
You get a picture, Paul? Man, I wish I had.
That's awesome.
Good stuff. Let's move on to number 2, early public comment on agenda items excluding items listed for public hearings. Mike?
No one has signed up, Mayor.
Thank you. Discussions, formal actions may be taken. A, resolution approving 2020 use of facilities agreement between the Township of Hamilton and the Hamilton Township Youth Athletic Association, otherwise known as HYAA, and authorizing mayor to sign same. It's your pleasure.
I move for the mayor to sign the HYAA and Hamilton Township agreement.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? Just so everybody understands, this is basically an agreement that we sign with, and you're going to see there's multiple organizations here. These are our athletic organizations. There's certain things that we require them to do, and we do for them. So this is just a way of putting it on paper. We have motion second. There's no questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. B, resolution approving the 2020 use of facilities agreement between the Township of Hamilton and the Mays Landing Athletic Association, also known as MLAA,
I'll move it.
authorizing mayor to sign the same. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. C, resolution approving the 2020 use of facilities agreement between the Township of Hamilton and the Hamilton Elite Football Club, and authorizing the mayor to sign the same.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. D, resolution to approve municipal aerial mosquito control agreement and authorize mayor to sign the same. Would you like to speak on this, Mike?
Yes, Mayor, I contacted Atlantic County, it's actually the Department of Public Works, the superintendent of the county mosquito control, John Abdil, and asked him if they could give us better notice of when they're going to do the spraying.
Okay.
And he said they will do the best they can to give us 48 hours notice, but it's contingent on weather,
Right.
wind, temperature, and things like that. So he said he would come to a meeting if he wanted, but he said that it really can't be much better than their attempt to give the notice.
Well, I think if we can at least get a time frame of when this is going to happen, I think,
Yeah.
it's obvious that weather's going to push it off a day or two. It's hard to say. Okay, very good.
Question? Like I asked you once before, do they give special consideration to any areas?
I called and didn't get an answer to that question yet. I'll follow up with them. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You were going to get me the address. That's what it was.
Pardon me?
You were going to get me the address.
Oh,
That's why I didn't get an answer. I need to get that from you.
Okay. Committee, your pleasure?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I don't think it'd be any harm, and I mean, we can move it this evening, but having him come here and at least explain to us the areas that they do, when they do them, and when they figure they're going to do them.
Okay.
I still say we move the resolution, but
Yeah.
if he's willing to do that, why don't we have him come and explain that to us, so at least it's a matter of record for the public to see.
Can you set that up, please?
Certainly.
It's a good idea. I'll make a motion to move that resolution.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Move to 4 is public hearing and adoption of ordinance. We have none. 5 is introduction of ordinances. We have none. 6, awards of bids, contracts, and change order. A, resolution authorizing acceptance of a proposal from Steve Philippone of Engineering Design Associates for surveying, engineering, and construction management services. Reconstructing of Atlantic Avenue, amount not to exceed $65,000.
Mayor, if I could just explain, the scope of the project that we applied for was about 540,000?
82,000?
582? I'm getting my paperwork out now. The grant was 315,000.
Okay.
So there's a difference that we'll need to make up in our capital to finance the rest of it.
Okay.
But the price, the 65,000 for Mr. Philippone is to do the full 500 and some $65,000 scope of project,
Okay.
so.
So the 65,000 is it's in the 582?
No, it's in addition
It's
to
on,
that.
on top of it.
Taken out of old bond.
So
money.
582 is the estimate of what the project could cost. All right.
I'll move 6A.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, we get a roll call vote, Rita?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
B, resolution to rescind Resolution 2019-0241 to authorize purchase of 4 Chevrolet Tahoes from Day Auto under Cranford Cooperative Contract Number 47, CPCPS.
I believe we did see that this is going to result in a savings.
About $5,000.
Actually, it is going to result in a savings. I believe you have it in the notes that I sang it. I believe it's either $4,000 or $5,000.
It was right, I think it was $5,000 that was noted in there. So I'll happily rescind B.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Rita, can we do a roll call vote on this too, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
C, resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 Chevrolet Tahoes from Hertridge Fleet Services Incorporated, State Contract A88729T2776, amount not to exceed $68,559.76.
I'll make that motion.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How come we can't get all 4 from here? How, we're buying 2 from here,
Have it
from
in
this
stock.
vendor for $34,500, and then we're buying 2 more from another vendor for $39,900.
There's different options on the vehicles, so that explains how they're different prices. I got to give credit to Anthony Alcott, one of our lieutenants. He was able to find these 4 vehicles and have a savings of over $5,000. I believe it was like
I'm happy with the
$5,000.
savings. I just saw that. I figured there must be something different with them, or
Yeah, it was definitely worth it.
thank you.
Question, this is under state contract, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Aren't the prices the same under the state contract?
The C is under state contract, D is under cooperative, Cranford Cooperative Contract.
Okay.
It's your pleasure.
Move the item,
I'll second.
resolution?
Okay, so a motion and a second on item C. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, we get a roll call vote, Rita?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
D, resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 Chevrolet Tahoes from Gentilini Chevrolet under Cranford Cooperative Contract 2020, number 47, CPCPS, amount not to exceed $79,851.72.
So moved.
Second.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. We move to number 7, consent agenda.
Is there anything on there, Bob, that you wanted to pull, or you okay with everything?
Yeah, I don't see anything.
I'll make a motion to approve items A through I on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Number
Mr.
8.
Mayor, just one point on that.
Sure.
Just on G, I didn't want to pull it for discussion, but G is a resolution authorizing us to put excess equipment on gov deals to recoup some of the money for the residents. I just think that should be noted.
Okay,
So.
thank you. All right, we move on to number 8. It's a personnel resolution appointing alternate member 1, the Hamilton Township Planning Board, unexpired 2-year term to expire 12/31/20.
I'll move the name of Peter Robert D'Amico.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second that.
A motion and second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Peter, thank you for volunteering.
Let's see, approvals. A, minutes of January 21st, 2020, regular meeting.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and second. Are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. B, minutes of January 21st, 2020, executive session.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Batali?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carry.
C, minutes of January 24th, 2020, special executive session.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Are there any questions? Just so everyone knows, I believe these special executive sessions are from the interview process for administrator. Rita, can we get a roll call vote on that, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Batali?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carry.
D, minutes of January 27, 2020, special executive session.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing no questions, Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Batali?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
E, minutes of January 28, 2020, special executive session.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Batali?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. F, bill list total, $9,468,355.72.
I think we ought to allow you to motion that, Mr. Mayor, since you were so happy with the last one.
I don't want to do this
You
one.
don't want to do this one, do you? Looks
we have-
like somebody earned their paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we got a raise, we just don't know it.
I will hesitantly move F.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Batali?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. We'll move to 10, reports. Mr. Administrator.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Mr. Solicitor.
Nothing good.
Thank you. Mr. Engineer.
Mayor and Committee, I have a few items. The first on my report is the Lake Lenape Dam I want to report on. The county is informing me that they have about 25 to 35 finished floor elevations of houses downstream that need to be surveyed. What will occur is those properties that were identified back in late last year. A letter will go to each of those residents notifying them that the county surveyor will access the property and shoot the floor elevations. And that's going to occur in sometime in the month of February. Patrick Ennis, who's the design engineer that's been hired by the county, once he receives that data from those 25 to 35 finished floors, he will finish his incremental damage assessment study, submit it to the state, get some feedback from the state, and then he could proceed to his next step, which is preliminary design of the dam. I've asked Patrick Ennis and the county if they could come to an upcoming meeting. I did that right after the committee meeting 2 weeks ago, and they said they will come, but they're not quite ready to come. They're saying
Okay.
possibly in the month of April.
Because we have a lot of questions.
Sure do.
The next item on my report is the Cotton Mill Bridge. I think I reported previously that the in-water restriction was April 1st. It is actually March 1st is
Really?
the in-water. And that comes from the Army Corps of Engineers permit, which just came to my attention, I guess, late last week. So the county is scheduling a preliminary pre-construction meeting tentatively next Monday, February 10th. It could possibly be the 11th, but they're hoping for the 10th. I haven't had any conversations yet with our police chief and Wade Smith, but I know they are anxiously waiting for a preliminary pre-construction meeting because traffic will be the main issue of that meeting.
It'll smooth as silk. Don't worry about it.
The county has indicated to me, I asked them how much work will occur within the water, so they're telling me it's about 2 days worth of work, about six total piles need to be driven. They think they can meet their deadline, I guess is what I'm told. So I will stay close to this, and we'll see where this takes us.
The words "they think they can" make me really confident.
So let's just review this for a second. Out of the water date is March 1st.
Correct.
Their pre-construction date is February 10th.
Preliminary pre-construction meeting is February 10th. And the reason they
Okay.
say pre-preliminary, they won't get into all of the details of the Cotton Mill Bridge pre-construction, standard pre-construction meeting. It'll be specific to that utility bridge.
Okay, so if they lose this winter, they can't get back in the water till July 1st, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I've even gone so far as to ask, what are the limits on the disturbance? And they said it has to do with how much turbidity there is in the water. They're saying that if they could drive these 6 piles, they're going to be good. So,
Yeah, I could imagine that would be a disturbance. Okay.
okay.
Pardon me? We don't know. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Next item, the road program from 2019. This is the contract that we signed with Arawak back at the end of the year, $347,000 contract for road reconstruction. I just wanted to just review it with committee what's about to happen. I had a pre-construction meeting this past week, and I just want to let the committee know which roads and where they're going to start. This road program is the roads that we're going to reconstruct are Morningside Drive, McGeary, Jocelyn. It's that entire loop. Tanglewood Drive, which is right down the street, we're going to do
Right.
drainage work. There's two drains on either side of a low point there. We're going to connect those 2 drains with a pipe, put a drainage structure in, and get rid of that water that laid, not so much this year, but a year ago.
Right.
The next is Maple Drive. That's that sort of a loop road that comes off of Old Egg Harbor Road. That's going to get paved. Essex Street, which is about 400-foot road out off of Route 40. It connects with Benson. And there's an intersection of Lance and Monmouth in Harding Lakes. There's been a drainage problem for years out there. We're going to put some drainage in there and redo that road reconstruction. The other part of this contract, Wade Smith had asked if we could include with this contract, and we were fortunate the prices came in low enough. It's a pretty comprehensive striping plan. We have about 6.5 miles of line striping we're going to do, and the roads are Township Avenue, Babcock, which is almost 2 miles, Old Egg Harbor Road from Harding Highway to the bridge they just completed, Holly Street, and Volunteer Way, which you could hardly see those lines down the center of the road. So it's a pretty comprehensive
Okay, good.
line striping. The only other thing I have, Mayor, is Dollar General. I'm waiting to hear from their corporate office. I will put them in touch with Lisa. They do want to have a grand opening, but it might take a little while because
Okay.
They are open though. Yeah.
They are open.
They did?
They opened
Yes, they
last week. It was a soft opening, but they do want to meet the committee. They would appreciate a ribbon cutting ceremony.
That's fine. Very good.
That concludes my report.
Good to have them here.
Question for you, Steve. On the road program, mill and pave. Are they milling and paving, milling first and then paving days after? Is that the plan? Do you know?
During a pre-construction meeting, they plan to knock out like the major part of it, which is Morningside, McGeary, Jocelyn, and Tanglewood in 2 days. They'll mill one day, pave
Pave
another.
the next.
Wade Smith was there. We spent a lot of time on, traffic control and safety, and we're going to make everybody's access to their property very accessible.
So Steve, with the mild weather, are the asphalt plants open? Can we?
They want to wait until April 1st.
Yeah, there.
Go first.
Yeah, the drainage will start, like Tanglewood and Monmouth, they're talking next week, starting the drainage. What they'll do is do the drainage work, put down DGA, put down stabilized base, let it sit. When then what they'll do is they'll mill that section of stabilized asphalt that they put in and give us a good surface. So it's a good idea. It'll settle. It'll be there for 6 or 8 weeks before they do the actual final course paving. But the drainage will start, they're telling me, next week.
Thank you. So I just want to make one comment, and the question was asked, do we know when the road's going to be, or the bridge is going to be closed? And that's part of us having the county come here and kind of give us as much information as they possibly can as we get closer to this. And we're hoping that, we're going to ask that, they come in and give us periodic reports on, where they're at. Is their schedule holding? Once they get started, they have told us in the past that they have some flex in the schedule. There's some built-in so that it's not critical path. I think what they're looking to do right now is kind of getting to be critical path. But they can do that work in 2 days. It's possible, but if not, it's going to be a problem till after July 1st. But let's let them get their final plan together, and then they'll come in and see us, and we will advertise to the best of our ability to let everybody know in advance so you can be here, especially the folks that live over that way. It's going to be a headache regardless of all our efforts. I think it's going to be better than what it would have been, but it's still going to be a bridge out. So we're doing the best we can. We'll move it to, are you done, Steve? I'm sorry.
I am. Thank you.
Township committee members, Carl?
I really have nothing.
Okay. John?
Nothing to add, except that on the road program, we do have a few areas that we might be able to do some, depending on how the finances and things work out when we have our meetings, we might be able to touch a few places for some specific section paving on areas where there are some potholes and things. We had talked about that strip in front of the post office and the mahogany company there, things like that. So there might be some additional things that can happen too, Mayor.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
Yeah,
it.
a lot of times this stuff does come in under budget, which is always a happy day. Under budget's a good thing. Charles?
Just I know I was sitting in the audience when we did we had the presentation by Rick Dovey for the ACUA. And we did get a letter in our packet saying that there will be an increase of 2.29%, bringing it to $369,412.75. My question was, Mike, do you know if this is inherent across the board with all communities, or are we different? I mean, we being charged differently than any other community?
I hope
Is it-
not, but I can't answer that sitting here, but
Is it a
that's the
question-
way it's been every year.
Is it-
We get
We just get the
Cost
two.
of living increase.
Kind of like a standard 2.9?
Cost of living increase,
Okay.
whatever the COLA is. But I don't know if that's what the contract is the same with every town or not. I'm not positive about that. I can check.
And I guess, I remember in the past, there was options. I guess, are they the only game in town now, or?
Oh, wow. Especially for recycling. I don't know if you're going to find anybody else who
Right.
do recycling right now. There's not much of a market for it, but
So 2.29% it is? Okay. One of the things I wanted to mention, Steve, if you could, years back when the sign that was placed at Gaskell Point was originally approved there was a cooperative agreement, Mike, you'll probably remember this, with the county, that the county was going to provide landscaping, they were going to provide water to it, they were going to provide landscaping to it, and I noticed it gets mulched, but we don't landscape, and part of that process was, if I remember correctly or not, was to actually beautify some of the other islands in that area. Do you know if we can get back on track with that, maybe make that a little more?
Chris Carey, the township landscape architect, on his own time developed, there's a landscape plan for that sign.
Is that something we can go back to the county and request that
I think
we?
the county was going to do irrigation, but I'm not sure about the landscaping. That might have been on us.
Well, I think what they're, if my recollection serves me correctly, they weren't going to plant it, but they have their own nursery, and they would provide us with the plants that we needed.
I'll pull it out.
If we could. I mean, it's
I notice it every day. Every day I go past it 2 to 4 times, and a little color would go a long way there with some.
It really would. I think, some low color there, and maybe, and I think when we originally looked at it, we talked about doing the other side too, but I don't know if there's irrigation there. I don't know. Chris would know more than both of us whether or not there's plants that survive that could add color and beautify that area.
I'd like to take that task if that's okay.
I think somebody hit it.
I believe it was repaired.
Was it?
Yeah, I think, I'm sure Public
Not
Works.
the sign itself,
No,
but the.
one of the stanchions,
The
yeah.
brick.
The other thing I
Noticed that
had.
the other day. I don't know if anybody.
And this is just a general question, and it was brought up when Carl and I were on the campaign trail at a couple of meet and greets we did about speed bumps and in different neighborhoods. And speed bumps obviously control traffic and slow people down, but when they're in residential neighborhoods and what have you, they make noise too when vehicles are going over them. And we had discussed there possibly may be some new technology, 3D technology. Is there, and is it something we could look into maybe for Main Street where we used to have the crosswalk at Boak's Funeral Home where we were trying to slow people down? Is there technology, and how expensive is it?
I've read that there is. I will ask Kevin Dixon. Kevin will know.
I just think, I mean, maybe in a situation like that, instead of speed bumps in certain areas, we could take advantage of it, and if we can still slow people down without causing the noise of an open vehicle, or so. That's all I have.
Thank you, Charlie.
I
Rodney?
want to pass today.
Good, okay. So I have something here. The Lewis Bay Second Future Municipal Leaders Scholarship Competition is obviously in its second year. The New Jersey State League of Municipalities have an excellent scholarship opportunity for high school juniors and seniors in the Township of Hamilton. We've teamed up to offer a chance to earn a $1,000 scholarship through the Lewis Bay Second Future Municipal Leaders Scholarship Competition. This is a statewide scholarship competition, centers on the theme, What My Municipal Government Does Best. And it seeks to advance the virtues of elected and volunteer members of municipal government. Last year's entry from Hamilton Township was Brandon McHenry from ACIT. While Brandon's essay wasn't one of the 3 scholarship winners, he was selected as one of the statewide finalists among 43 submissions. Full details on the application process and contest are being sent to our local high schools and are available on our website. I hope to see many of the young adults representing the Township of Hamilton in the Future Municipal Leaders Scholarship Competition. The only other thing I have is just we're working on the budget right now, which is always a good time. And we're also working to find a new administrator because Mike has decided to leave us and retire. So kind of busy right now, but that's busy is good. So I'd like to open this up to the public. Anybody in the public like to speak? Jim?
You know, I have a question for you, Charles, and Rod, you can chime in too. The Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, it should be made into a full-time board with 4-year terms and alternates serving 2 years.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I'd be more than happy to look into it for you, Jim.
Okay. And
I think that's a good idea. I agree with that.
I'm sure Diane would like that too, Diane Fox.
Okay.
4-year 4-year terms. That'd be for seven members, and 2 more would be alternates serving 2 years. About that, Charles.
All right. Thank you.
And one more question, Charles. Sure. Now that you're back, we need a brand new strategic planning committee.
That was an awful lot of work, Jim, and there's a tremendous amount of data that was collected, and you know, we've been reviewing some of that because there were some ideas that weren't followed through on. And matter of fact, a few meetings we had, we brought up things from the past, and I think the best thing to do is look at the information that we collected and try to move forward with some of that before we go through the process of trying to reinvent the wheel again. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and there were things though that were left untouched, and I think that we should start with those.
Because a lot of things were color-coded red.
Yes.
And
Good memory.
That's where we should start.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to chime in, Rod, on that? Senior Citizen Advisory Committee?
Pardon me?
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, I'd like to see that a term also, a definite term. You know.
Okay, Jim?
But, you used to oversee that. I didn't see you at the last meeting, Charles.
No, I'm sorry, Jim. We've actually had quite a few meetings trying to find someone capable of replacing Mr. Jacobs. So we've been a little busy.
One more year, huh, Mike? One more meeting, huh?
One more meeting.
And finally, Steve, I have one for you. Is that bridge on Old Egg Harbor Road open?
Yes.
Yes.
It opened up on the afternoon before Thanksgiving, that Wednesday afternoon.
Okay. I saw the yellow detour signs disappeared, so
Yeah.
I took it last week and it's open. Okay. Thanks
Okay,
a lot.
Jim, thank you. Mr. Blicky.
Harry Balicki, Clarkstown Road, Mays Landing. I would like to thank Township Committee for considering and approving Peter D'Amico to the Planning Board. As many of you know, I've been serving on the Planning Board for 12 years, and if you look around, most of our board is over the age of 50. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I'm one of them. But Pete is one of the rising stars at the FAA, and I think he'll serve the board well. Thank
I
you
didn't know
very
whether
much.
to take offense from that or not. But Harry's been our deputy chair, and he does an amazing job.
Yes. Thank you, Harry. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Mr. Strye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the subject of accountability, we've touched on a subject from the reorganization meeting and last meeting on Mr. Kurtz's involvement in the amendment to allow Mr. Neville a variance. Based on public record, based on state statute, even our own ordinance and ethics training that everyone is required to take in this room, is the township, based on all public records, is the township going to authorize Mr. Sandman to investigate that
We
issue
did
that I brought up?
that after last meeting, and I think Mr. Sandman can address that.
I can. This was subject matter of the last meeting, and the mayor asked me to evaluate the question. And the question was that was there a violation of the state ethics law with respect to Mr. Kurtz voting on the introduction of an ordinance and then subsequently making positive statements on behalf of the applicant at the adoption hearing. The ordinance was introduced 5-0. And on the adoption hearing, the ordinance was tabled. No, it was 4-1.
Thank you.
And for the introduction, the mayor voted against it. The adoption hearing was about to occur, and a motion was made to table the amendment to the ordinance as it related to this particular application of Mr. Neville. And that was approved 5-0, so the ordinance was tabled. In the context of researching the issue, I became very uncomfortable. As an attorney, I represent the entire body, which also includes John. I believe that I was getting close to the line when asked to give an opinion with respect to whether or not my client had violated some ethics law. In my heart, I know the answer because I did the research, but I'm not going on the record to say it because I'm an attorney for everybody up there, as I'm an attorney for everybody in this town. So I contacted the mayor and I told him I was not in a position to give an opinion, but I also told him that I had researched the law and that if some person wanted to charge John with a violation of the state ethics statute, that would have to go to the local finance board and not anywhere else. There are some towns that have, and some counties that have, created their own ethics boards. We're not one of them. So I believe that the law is preemptive, meaning that any decision with respect to that issue should be evaluated, investigated, and decided by the local finance board. And I will not, and I cannot, give an opinion with respect to my client.
Thank you.
During your research, did you um, examine planning board testimony and records where that issue was addressed there.
Only my client has the right to ask me that question.
Could you ask Mr. Sandman if his research evaluated planning board meetings and agendas on this?
Can you respond to that? or
I
no?
will not answer that in a public meeting.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
attorney-client privileged.
Yes.
I understand. I'm bringing, based on public information, it's all based on public information. I'm curious. I understand.
I'm a lawyer first.
I get you.
All right.
Okay, no, I understand. I'm just asking the question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the public like to speak?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion is second to close the public portion. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Take a motion for adjournment.
So
Make that
moved.
motion.
We have a motion, a second.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.